This is the most right place at the right time for the longest amount of time I've ever felt in my life. So thank you guys so much. I feel like the past 4 days I've been re-falling in love with what I've been doing for my entire adult life. It's been a big journey since COVID took everything away, and now I feel like I'm getting everything back and then some. And I can't believe like you just gave me all the people that I was looking for. Thank you. So let's show the video and then we'll get more into it. So some of you guys might have seen me crying as I was cutting this together this morning. And yeah, these are all my friends. I love them so much. So it's been my entire adult life since I was 20 years old. We started House of Yes because we were too young to get into nightclubs. So we rented a crack house and gutted it. And our random guy who found a random room on Craigslist that ended up being in this crack house. And then we came in and we started gutting everything. And then he was like, wow, you guys are really cool. Can I keep living here? And we're like, yes, we need to fill these 8 rooms in this loft. And then he was in this Afro-punk band, and his drummer's mom happened to be dating Melly Mel, like the legend. And so we started throwing these parties that would make the bar would make like $600. We would use it all on beer, in the following 2 weeks. So these parties just kind of organically took off, and they were once a month. They were a giant mess. there was one theater light that was attached to a ladder that was drilled into the sheetrock that kept falling on everyone all the time. But yeah, we were having a great time, 20 to 21. And then about 10 months into this, co-living unintentional disaster, we were cleaning up from one of the best party we've had so far. We went for 3 days straight, so this was Tuesday. And right when we were putting the last little bit of dirt into the dustpan, I heard a bunch of commotion in the kitchen. And there was a piece of pita bread that was in a toaster oven below a giant Where the Wild Things Are monster head made out of twine and dust. And we hid all of the fire extinguishers because somebody had set one off a few weeks before that. So for the party, we decided to hide all the fire extinguishers on the roof. And you definitely don't call the fire department when you have a fire because then you might get evicted. But anyway, so this fire went from manageable to scary to the whole ceiling was on fire. And then the ceiling, and I remember standing there, and I've talked to some firemen since this incident over the years, and they were like, "You're so lucky to have experienced such beauty without any of the gear on that we get to wear when we're inside of burning buildings." So we ran out of there, and it was a 4-alarm fire. And and we lived at the space, and we had lost everything. So while we were trying to, text people and figure out, where we're going to stay that night and where can we, find like which restaurant has a lost and found box that we can get some sweaters. This was April 20th. And it was like one of the first warm days. And so all of the Brooklyn underground started organizing, and they were like, this isn't just your house. This is very important. This is a community space, and we're canceling all of our events, and we're throwing you one big party, and you guys are going to continue doing this because this is a community space. It has never occurred to us before because we were just having a good time. So one weekend later, we had $14K in a bag that we were carrying with us because we didn't have a house. And the first place we saw was a giant ice house, a former ice house, which was convenient. So it was 30 feet tall, which is great because we had just gotten into aerial. And I have 2 minutes? One. Okay. So basically, we threw parties in a warehouse that was illegal completely for 5 years, put us on the map. The cork from the ice house prevented the police from hearing any of the music. You could feel it with your feet walking a block away, but you couldn't hear it. And then the rent was $5K. The landlord raised it to $7K. We could not afford that at all. So 2 months before we had to move out, we moved out, packed up our shit, went to Burning Man, had coffee with a friend of a friend twice, and then decided to go into business with them for the third House of Yes, which is what you see there. And and so since everything got taken away by COVID, we cried, we lost everything. But then since then, we've realized that what we've been doing was actually really reckless and wasteful and not the best way of doing things. And so about a month ago, we bought 130 acres of land, which is that last picture. And so now we're going to take what we've been doing, House of Yes, continue House of Yes, make it better, but then also create a space with all the things that we love, but better on this land. So that's my story. So things were growing out of our control. So it was very exciting, and we come from no money and struggle. So when projects are being thrown at you, your first impulse is to take them, and then you have to do the best thing ever. And so that ends up destroying you, destroying your staff. Everyone's stressed out. You're not eating, and then you're also throwing money at problems. You're like, this isn't working. You don't have time to look at the system. You just hire more staff. And then that starts bleeding money. And so then you have to do a bunch of bullshit gigs to make more money. And then you're creating weird props that you'll never use again because you never thought about it. And I mean, just the whole entire thing was, like it was good. It's fun. Like it looks amazing. But it was a mess, you know. And so now we're restructuring the whole company, from House of Yes in Brooklyn, which is going to continue on as soon as COVID is over, because we're not doing like a half-assed opening. Like once we're able to party fully, we're going to keep doing that. But we just don't want to like create a bunch of garbage and burn out the people we love. And there's ways to do that. And it's like fairly straightforward if you just like take a step back and think about it, and then like end up here where everyone's exactly who you should be talking to out of the whole world. So does that answer your question? Or how are we doing it differently? Sure. So there's so the things with the land are, they were always present with House of Yes. Like, we care about connection and healing, but now we can be on the land and we can have actual like healing retreats. We care about hospitality, so now we can have a place where people can live long term, short term, and a hotel in a way that is inspiring. We care about, we're a huge sex positive driver behind the industry, where we've coined the consent program that New York City is using now as its blueprint for the consent program that's enforced in all the clubs. So, but we can't really have sex parties at the club because that's illegal. But we could, do sexy stuff on the land. So every single thing that doesn't fit in a club, but the reason why I do it in a club, can now happen on the land. Does that answer your question? Great. Yes. You're welcome. Wow. Well, I mean, every single person I got to know so far. I mean, Kelsey and I and her business partner, my business partner, have a Zoom call tomorrow at 9 a.m. to talk about architecture on the property. So that was like a pretty concrete example of that. I was, and they're gonna love it. I cannot wait. Yeah. And then, I was feeling deeply uninspired and blocked about making the pitch deck for this like land, which is a dream come true. And it's going to be, we're going to like grow old there, and it's going to be do whatever the fuck you want and well with experience. And I was having trouble with that. And then Alex just got me like super jazzed about it. And then we were like walking back, and I was like, I feel like I'm like on drugs or something. I was so happy. And it was just, just like some business advice. Like it literally, like the food conversations that like Pablo and I just like started to like it's literally every aspect. There's so many aspects to the upstate property, and I was coming in here just to kind of like get stable and centered and like feel good so I can go back and work. But then I was like handed all the experts that I was looking for like here, and they're better than I expected. So I think what you can give me is just continue like doing what you're doing. Just talk. Does that answer your question? Yes. For the what? I mean, the whole thing is the biggest challenge. Like, we've never farmed before. Or, I mean, we've done construction, but not on that scale. So I think the challenge is just, taking the ethos behind what we've been doing, which we've done, maybe not in the best ways, but there's always been like heart to it and truth, and like we were true to ourselves and true to our community, and just not let the massive scale of what we're about to embark on, that we have experts available to us, but we haven't had 130-acre property, and just not lose sight of the stability and the centeredness and the clarity of vision that we have now when shit hits the fan. Does that answer your question? Okay. Yes. I think that the way that most spaces are built, but whether it's like any place that is people, like a restaurant or like a museum or a nightclub or whatever, it kind of starts with like um, like a business, like like a business plan, and then funding, and then the content goes in. We started as a house party, and at a house party, you go, like, you might not know anyone, but you know someone, and you're friends with. So it comes from this place where we're just like creating these elaborate house parties, and I think that's the difference, is that like communal spaces have become like a business plan and like a product, and I think what we're doing is just making it the opposite of that. Like it is actually just there to for people to come together, and then the business plan and the funding, we'll figure it out. We believe in this thing that we're doing, so everything else we'll just fight for it and make it work. Yes. My friends. Yeah, I mean, it's everything through and through with the space is completely collaborative. I'm a creative director or a theater director, but I'm really just a curator. I think that I have a knack for bringing out the best in people and just putting people where they're happiest and introducing them to other people, and then just seeing what happens. Thanks, guys.